So so over the last few months, of course, you've been tweeting a lot about Hinduism versus Hindutva.
Yeah.
And those are like fantastic tweets because I think it's literally where people who are seeing it don't know how to respond. Like the people who are either the targets or whatever, they're like, what do we, like both sides are confused. They're like, what do we do here exactly? So and I think once you said, I think in 2-3 times I've heard you say this, that Hinduism is about empathy.
Yes.
Right. And so this is a 2-part question. One is what is, and I think most people know this, but it's worth repeating again, the difference between Hinduism and Hindutva is one. And second, I think you already explained the other question, which is that how do you try and put empathy into understanding like violent attacks, which have been happening over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, that's a 2-part question.
See, these words are used, first of all, I have to clarify that Hindutva should be seen as a common noun and as a proper noun.
Okay.
Okay, so let's begin with that. So as a common noun, in Hindi you have the sandhi vichhed, right? You break a word. So you'll get Hindu and Tattva. And so it is the principles of Hinduism. Now that sounds very good, right? So I've got to name a word which says the principles of Hinduism or the essence of Hinduism. But now turn it into a proper noun with a capital H. Now this is the proper noun that a political organization has taken upon itself. So when I say Hindutva, it's a double meaning, right? It's like if I say my name is Nirmal. So Nirmal means the pure one. And my name is Nirmal. So does it mean the person with the name Nirmal is a pure person? So now it's a twin thing, right? So now everywhere I say Nirmal aa rahe hain. Nirmal aa rahe hain. So that has a different meaning. Right? So that's what happens with Hindutva. People, when you say Hindutva, what do you mean? Common noun or proper noun? And that's a very clever marketing strategy that has been taken up by a political organization, which has a particular political ideology. So Savarkar starts it in the 1920s. He is not the one who created this word. This word is about at least 50 years older than him. It was created in Bengal by a gentleman called Basu, Chittaranjan Basu or something. I don't know the exact name. You can Google it. But see what happens in the 19th century is that the British colonial empire, we are part of the colonial discourse. They are trying to make sense of Hinduism. And they are obviously hostile, and they're saying that you people are savages, you're pagans, you need to be reformed and civilized. And Indians don't know what to do about it because the new master, till now, whenever new masters came to India, they would always adore the Brahmins because the Brahmins were very good at administration.
Right. Yeah.
So even when the Turk and Mughal kings came, their administration and their entire civil service was managed by the Brahmin community. And the kayasths and so it was all going fine until the British come along. And the British say that, you're all savages. And he came with a superiority complex. And with a small army controlling everybody, we are the Goliaths who have been defeated by this colonial David, who's telling you that, you are a barbarian. So you are on the defensive. And the educated Indians started getting exposed to ideas like the French Revolution. So you have brotherhood, liberty, equality, everybody's talking about it. And you're looking at Hinduism, which is like about caste and cow worship and tree worship and you're reading books, you're exposed to Christian missionaries who are talking about idolatry and blasphemy and one God and, pagan rituals, golden calf, and you're like, oh my God, I am this. And you don't know how to deal with it. So one bunch of intellectuals began the reformations, what is called the Hindu Reformation.
Right.
So Raja Ram Mohan Roy comes in that, and you have Prarthana Samaj, Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj. These are all reformatory. They're looking at Hinduism, they're saying, you know what, we have to go back to the scriptures. So Brahmo Samaj creates a way of thinking. So they look at Upanishads. Swami Dayanand Saraswati starts talking about the Vedas and Vedic mantras and saying temple worship is not part of Hinduism, it's a corruption.
Right.
So these new ideas are emerging in the 19th century. So these were called the Samaj ke log. Ye log Samaji hai.
Acha.
Now there was a counter movement saying that no, we are perfect, nothing is wrong with what we do, we are absolutely good. We don't want to think about it, we are right. These were the Sanatanis. So Sanatanis said that every ritual was, so child marriage is fine, widow remarriage, child marriage is fine, widow remarriage should be prohibited, sati is okay. Like if you say yes, I'll say no.
Right.
That's kind of, so there are two schools of thought emerging in the 19th century. So Hindutva at that time was used for every ritual that is practiced in India is okay. Don't criticize it, don't reform it, we are fine. This is a colonial exercise to destroy us.
Right.
This starts in the 19th century. This is consolidated by Savarkar in 1920s when he writes the book Who is a Hindu, and he was a historian, or at least an amateur historian. He said that 1857 was not a mutiny, it was an uprising. It was a national movement to throw the... So he creates a national consciousness. He plays a very important role in that way.
Right.
His writings are very, very powerful. Whatever people might say, he sort of creates a consciousness. He was part of the Lokmanya Tilak, admired him. Lokmanya Tilak admired Gandhi and Savarkar, but the good student was Gandhi. Savarkar was not the good student. So there is also a rivalry over there, and which nobody wants to acknowledge. But everywhere there's rivalry in every party and every movement. Even if you're fighting for the same cause, who is going to win? And and it's also so he spoke about, and in Maharashtra especially, you must understand, 17th century India was controlled by the Marathas, and the British actually defeated not the Mughals but the Marathas. So the whole Panipat is this monumental failure of the Maratha, and that memory was there in the Brahmin communities, the Chitpavans, the Deshasth Brahmins. So suddenly when you ever talk about power, people would get excited by this and this national consciousness. And he brings this word Hindutva saying, and he creates what I would say, he constructs a story that Hinduism in India is, he gives this historical, and I've read his works, where he talks about how India was, the word Hindu comes from Sindhu, which is river and water, and in Vedic period it's called Sindhusthal, the land of rivers, which became Hindustan by the Arabs.
But is that correct? No.
It could be, because the word Hindu, Indians use the word Sindhu, and Sindhusthal is there, so river, but it's pronounced as Hindu in the outside India, in Afghan, in Persia, in Farsis, would call this ye Hind hai, Al-Hind. The word Al-Hind was used. Indians didn't identify themselves through geography.
Right.
They would ask, kaun sa gaon hai tera? So, मैं काशी का हूँ. So they would always ask two things, आप कहाँ से हो और जात कौन सा है? Nobody asked religion. Religion is a 19th century concept. Before 19th century, nobody understood religion. So that's a different conversation. But what you have is, so Savarkar tells the story that, Hinduism evolved here, it was this, then Buddhism first comes. And Buddhism, he admires Buddhism, because also remember, these guys have not really read Buddhism, they read Edwin Arnold's Buddhism, which is a 19th century European Englishman writing this fantastic book called Light of Asia. Buddha. Everybody reads it. Gandhi reads it, Nehru reads it. So when they're referring to Buddha, they're not really referring to the historical Buddha that you and I know today, because we have access to more information. They had access to this one Englishman's version of Buddha. Okay, which is about this man who left his wife, and he was such a nice person, this gentle soul who believed that, how to get away from suffering. So Buddha was a hero even for Ambedkar, for everybody. In India, everybody loved Buddha. It was almost seen as the good thing that India produced, and Hinduism was the bad thing that India produced. So there was this kind of a tension between Buddhism and Hinduism that emerges in the 19th century. And he says also, Savarkar is also very saying that, Buddhists were good, but they made us passive. We were pacifists. Because of Buddhism, we gave up our military prowess, and because of which the Huns, the Shakas, the Pallava, the Scythians, and the
Is
Greeks,
there any truth to that at all?
No,
Okay,
it's not true at all. But it is assumption. It's a very good story, because we were great culture. We had the heroes like Rama and Krishna. Then Buddha comes along and makes us all very, meditate. We are meditating, and while we were meditating, the Greeks came and destroyed us, and the Kushans came and destroyed us. So Rajputs emerged, and Rajputs fought back, and they held pay till the Muslims came in. But then because the Muslims were very cunning, they defeated the Rajputs, and now we are in a mess. So now we should rise back and fight back, and that's why Hindutva is to defend Hinduism. So if you look at the trolls, they all think of themselves as soldiers. They're trying to save us from ourselves, which is the most dangerous place to be in. The moment somebody is a savior, you must be careful of these people, because they want, it's like boyfriends who want to protect the girlfriend and say, देख तेरे को मैं protect करने के लिए घूंघट पहन और फिर घर के अंदर बैठ तो जॉब मत करने तो लोग बहुत गंदे होते हैं. And this is a common trick that is used by young men to control women. Like, I love you so much that I will control you. तो पालतू पशु बना देते हैं तेरे को.
अरे ये दूसरी बार हुआ है. पिछले इंटरव्यू में भी एग्जैक्टली ऐसा हुआ था. And it always falls at a weird time. पालतू push and it falls like a fruit. To be caught by.
I thought God's gift has come.
ये लो आपकी दक्षिणा.
So this is what he writes in the 1920s, and it's a very great narrative. It's a powerful narrative that is accepted by people, that we have to protect Hinduism, and Hinduism under threat
Right.
from Muslims and Christians and outsiders, and this whole inside-outside, me versus you conversation becomes powerful. It's a very powerful conversation. It's not historically accurate at all. And especially now that we have kind of information we have on Hinduism, like 100 years later, the kind of Hinduism I understand and what I read in school is very different, because historians have done so much of digging. It's a very complex subject. It's not so simple. You know, I'll give you an example. So Orissa, for example,
Right.
we have heard the story of Muslims came in and with a sword and they destroyed temples and they converted people into. Odisha is a largest state in the eastern part of India. I come from Odisha.
Right.
There is a temple there called Jagannath.
Huh.
When was Jagannath temple built? It was built 800 years ago.
Okay.
The temple existed, like a small temple existed, but this big temple that we see today was built 800 years ago. It was built as to show the invading Muslims how powerful we are.
Okay.
So the Chodagangadev builds it. While Bengal has been taken over by the Afghans, the Odia king is building this massive structure to display his power. दिखाने के लिए देख मैं इतना बड़ा तो कुछ नहीं कर सकता मैं. So this temple is being built at that time in the 800 years. So this 1000 साल की गुलामी doesn't stand, because 800 years ago you built this gigantic temple. This temple is attacked several times by Afghans, by Mughals, by East India Company. And they have actually taken the statue of the temple and burnt it in the courtyard. So they've done all this kind. The temple's still there. How? Because people found ways of surviving it. And Odisha has, if the national average of Muslim population around in India is around 10%, average across the states, Odisha is less than 3%.
Okay.
So if it is a temple which was attacked many times by invaders, how is it this state does not have a significant Muslim population?
Right.
Explain this to me. And there was no Hindutva at that time. So explain this now doesn't fit the Savarkar logic.
Right.
Right? And I'm from that state. So when I read, and I didn't know about this, my history, because I am born in Maharashtra. I know more about Maratha history than Odisha history. I happened to read a book by a German historian in the 1970s who wrote a book on Odisha and the cult of Jagannath. His name is Kulki. And when I read it, I'm like, this is not taught in schools. Nobody taught this. And I'm reading this. This is written like a proper academic paper with research and peer reviewed. But you're going to explain this to trolls?
Yeah.
Savarkar has never obviously read it because it's done in the 1970s.
Right,
he was not aware of it. You know, so we don't realize that what we hear, because we just assume these people were scholars. उनको सब कुछ मालूम था, नहीं मालूम था. They were humans like us. They were also reading, and we have access to internet, and we still don't know everything.
Yeah.
You know, technically, I have access to the whole world's library in my phone.
Yeah.
But only if I go there, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm on TikTok all the time, you can't expect me to know Nobel Prize ka data. वो है यहाँ पे. Even Abhijit Banerjee's work is here, but TikTok is always more exciting. So the same amount of money I can get access to Abhijit Banerjee's books on economics. And
TikTok versus knowledge is a great.
So let's and troll. I mean,
Yeah.
Just put that in and you get a different. So this kind of complexity people don't understand. So Hindutva comes from this wounded, we are wounded, हम लोग को किसी ने मार दिया है, and we have to protect ourselves. Hinduism doesn't have any of that burden.
Yeah.
Hinduism is just a way of looking at the world, and it transformed over 2,000-3,000 years. It keeps changing and keeps changing. Broadly, you know, the word Hindu was used for the first time only in the 14th century by Indians. The outsiders used Hindus. Indians started using it only in the 14th century.
So what did we use prior to that?
There was no need. You didn't have to identify
As you
yourself.
said,
कोई तेरा ID card पूछा नहीं है तो तेरा ID card नहीं होता है ना. Now you have Aadhaar and PAN and something else going to come now. Because we just don't know how to identify ourselves even today, right? Around the world you'll have one card. ये तेरा identity है.
Right.
Our government doesn't know how to identify us. You have Aadhaar, you have PAN card, you have passport, and now you're told none of this really matter.
Every day there's a new
This
card.
tells you about India, right? This
Yeah.
is classic India. So our identity, we have always, that is, see, remember when the British came to India, they hated Indians because we were confusing them.
By the way, that's the weirdest form of identity politics. is basically about the actual identity card.
कि तुम्हारा, because I keep wondering कि मेरा राशन कार्ड है, आधार कार्ड है, सब है, and फिर भी you're saying तुम इंडियन नहीं हो सकते हो. So ये इंडिया में ही हो सकता है, because there is, if you say you're a Hindu, identify. Tell me how.
Yeah.
Tell me how will I identify? तेरे घर में भगवान का मूर्ति है, किसी के घर में भी हो सकता है, नहीं है तो क्या हुआ, इसका मतलब हिंदू थोड़ी ना है. तो now you are trying to create this pan Hinduism and you're creating these stories. So stories are being constructed by politicians,
right?
And politicians are the least read people. They don't read much, so you construct history. So Jawaharlal Nehru creates Discovery of India based on what he wrote to his daughter, based on his understanding. Veer Savarkar writes his history based on what he knows. Neither of them are trained historians. And they certainly don't know history as we know it today. So they are writing also at the time of colonial persecution. So their stories are... So Hinduism has these different forms. Coming back to your question, the fundamental difference is, I always say, is Hinduism deals with Atmagyan, about living a meaningful life. Hindutva is about kill Pakistanis. Beyond it, there's nothing. It's just like remove Pakistan. There is no need for Hindutva. But Hinduism is always there. So it's like oxygen. So it's like a thought. But Hindutva is only when there's pollution and you need a gas mask.
That was a fun chat with Devdutt. Thanks a lot to Devdutt for coming out. Again, he has about 575 million books that he's written. But read one of them and then enjoy yourself. And also check out my stand-up tour, as I said. Tickets, sorabhpant.com. Just go there and check out all the different options. Thanks a lot. I hope you're enjoying Pant Plus Fun. And in the comments, tell me who you'd like me to interview next. Bye.